Excite Bunny is a web app for sex workers that want true agency of their content and bodies. We are creator-focused and member satisfaction-focused. We welcome all type of bodies, sexual tastes, and orientations. We are for sexual empowerment and education, and the decriminalization of sex work in the U.S. Something for everyone.
Yeah, that's what I told her to do too, and I understand. I mean, if you did it.
Here you go.
Okay, ladies, I have to tell you about this game that I just got for me and my man.
Yeah?
We have been playing it every night, and our relationship has never been better.
Really?
I'm not kidding. It's literally the best game ever.
Oh, I heard about this game. Let me see.
Yeah.
Even if
What do you think you're talking
you
about?
can play six. Oh my god, it's
I don't know.
Oh my god. Oh. I mean, would you ever try it? Absolutely. Oh my god, if we could all play.
Is Omar the Rebel.
And I'm the Big Pink Pegasus.
And this is Tribe Chat, the long-form podcast about alternative sexuality of Enzo Ricabilla or NK swingers from a black perspective. We make you think.
We make you laugh.
And we make you come. Recording to you live from WTF Media Studios in Soho, Manhattan. Make sure that you add us to your playlist.
Please.
And wherever you consume your podcast, like and subscribe our videos on YouTube and the little bell for our notifications. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and add us on Facebook, FetLife, and visit our Teespring store to support us with some of the merchandise that you see right here. All right, so let me get our first shout-outs. Let's go to some shout-outs. Shout out to Excite Bunny, the first black-owned social subscription platform revolutionizing content and social, providing a 90% payout health and dental insurance, as well as around-the-clock tech support. Something for everyone. Also, if you film or produce adult content, then you need to go to the Excite Bunny content event. As a matter of fact, that will be in Atlanta, Georgia, August 11th from August 14th. This is an Excite Bunny exclusive event for Excite Bunny creators. All scenes will be shot in 4K, high quality. Makeup artists will be available. Private chef providing 2 meals. And on a beautiful property, as well as guaranteed photo shoots. Come see why we have something for everyone. And shout out to Triple X Playground. Triple X Playground, the adult board game communication tool, can be played by couples or, as we do, in a group setting, giving you a naturalistic way to break the ice and transition comfortably into a sexually liberated atmosphere. As a matter of fact, we're going to demonstrate that later. This version is 3 games in 1. And we are going to demonstrate. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you scan the QR code on the screen to get information about the board game, as well as Triple X Playground products and merchandise. So let me get to introducing our guest. We have Miss Dirty Lola, is a sex edutainer. Oh, that's edutainer.
Edutainer.
Yeah, my mom uses that term. She's a sex edutainer, speaker, and self-proclaimed dildo slinger. Yes, known for her live sex ed Q&A show, Sex Ed on the Go-Go, and is a co-host of New York Magazine's Cut's Sex Props web series. Lola has spent almost a decade working to end the stigma and shame surrounding sex and sexuality. She's been featured in New York Magazine, Vice Video, XBiz, Sex with Jess, Sex with Jess, the Hard or Soft podcast, which is where we met. And of course, she is the very first person that you see on Netflix series Principles of Pleasure, centering women's voices on sexuality that we mentioned previously on our show. Also joining us today, we have Daniel Sate, The chief conspirator of the New Society for Wellness, a private club for the adventurous in Soho's New York City neighborhood, which is the same neighborhood that we have our studio. The clubhouse has been mentioned in the daytime talk show The Doctors. That was interesting. They talked about the pandemic, the Hollywood Reporter, and Forbes magazine.
Nice.
Daniel has also been here previously as he's appeared on Horrible Decisions as well as Wheezy's Sex Sales television show on Fuse TV. Daniel stated previously, we prefer to think of them as sexy parties as opposed to sex parties. I actually like that.
I mean, there's a lot of stigma around sex parties in general. So, yeah, it's a better way to like present it, and it gets people more comfortable for the idea of it.
Yeah, I like that. You know what I'm saying? It seems to be a lot of focus on making sure that people are comfortable in the environment. I've been hearing a lot about that club, and thank you for the invite. I hope my partner and I would take you up on this. And it is so great to see you again. You look fantastic.
You sure do. You sure do. I'm serious because usually I come here with my face beat like a bad child's ass, honey. But we live in the world of million hustles, so I had to do some shit myself, and your fucking face is beat, and I'm mad.
It wasn't as much effort as it looked like.
Well,
Thank you.
kudos to your fucking hands or your makeup artist or whomever.
Let me get to the news. May I?
Go ahead if you like.
All right. So Habari Ghani is the literal Swahili translation for the term beautiful. I'm sorry. No, and Zuri Kabila is a literal Swahili translation for the term beautiful tribe. Keeping with the cultural continuity of the brand, we begin with the Swahili term, what's the news, Habari Ghani? All right. On the first news bulletin, a Florida man crashes into a FedEx truck while receiving oral sex. So a Florida man crashes his vehicle into a FedEx truck while receiving oral sex from a woman in the passenger seat. According to Fort Lauderdale Fire Rescue, who responded to the scene, the SUV allegedly crashed head on into the FedEx truck in Fort Worth last month. Yo, head on is exactly how it reads. Ashley, you going to hell, man, for writing that.
No, I ain't. 'Cause that's the truth.
All right, the man and woman.
Wait, hold. How was he that he crashed head on? Like, were you in mid? How did that go?
Hold on. The man and woman were northbound in an SUV in North Ocean Boulevard when the driver apparently became distracted by the passenger's performance and crossed into the center line, striking the delivery van as it traveled southbound near the intersection with Northwest 19th Street. The unidentified man and his female companion were both found partially naked after the collision at 7 p.m., according to reports. Now, hold on. Wait, y'all take y'all clothes off when y'all sucking dick? Why was she naked?
Some people do. Who says that that's...
Well, he would have to have his pants down, open.
Yeah.
She might have had her shirt open because he might have been fondling.
And that's just where they crashed at. Who's to say it wasn't some other shit going on before? Like, what kind of sex goes on? What kind of sex goes on in the car with you?
While you're moving?
He was probably a very considerate lover, so he was like making sure she was taken care of.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
You know what I mean?
But I gotta say, I was
so one hand on the wheel. That was the cause of the accident.
Aww.
He was just he was trying to
what
get back.
we're going with.
He was like, we're gonna go with that.
We're going with that.
All right, since we're on geography, listen, Las Vegas and New York are America's kinkiest cities when it comes to kink. Sin City and the Big Apple are in the lead. Can we drop a bomb for the Big Apple for New York City for being one of the kinkiest cities in the world? God damn it!
In the world.
Yes, so according to the New York Post, a new study has ranked the sexiest cities in the world, and 2 of America's hotspots have made the cut. And I think that has something to do with this gentleman here.
No, I think it has to do with a lot of people in this space.
Say that.
There's so many people in this space now. There's movement.
Las Vegas and New York are among the kinkiest destinations around the world, sex experts say. London is rated the city with the kinkiest energy in the Bottle Club's latest study, where they ranked the sexiest cities on a 40-point scale. Las Vegas follows shortly behind London near perfect score of 39 with a score of 38. Berlin comes in at 3rd place with 33 points, and New York City in the top 4 with a score of 29. In order to determine each city's sexiness score, many factors were taken into account. They ranked the number of kinky people, sex events, and porn stars' names after the city. That's bullshit. Like, how does that affect... how kinky the city is.
Right. Like, who the fuck is these survey people? Like, that's what needs to be questioned because I don't want fucking the third grade art teacher to be the person who tell me how kinky the shit. That's not true.
The number of people in the area that are signed up for websites like OnlyFans was also taken into account. London leads the way due to the whopping 131 sex events, 10,000 content creators on OnlyFans. OnlyFans is also based out of the UK, but there are also at least 30 porn stars named after the city of London. That's just because of the way it sounds. Las Vegas is home to 115 strip clubs, 88 sex events, proving that it's called Sin City for a reason. While NYC ranked third, it also got points for the study for having some of the world's most sensual menus, as the city's full of champagne bars, oyster restaurants, and the new Society for Wellness. Actually, I just added that last one in.
Nice. You know what's crazy though? Amsterdam didn't pop up.
Yeah.
That's some weird shit.
Besides the red district, they don't really have a lot. They're very conservative.
Yeah, I mean, Amsterdam has gone backwards a little bit also too.
Yeah, I've heard
much
that.
more conservative like rule.
Well, I've not been, but I was.
They've been like pulling back on a lot of stuff.
I've been reading about
I'm
that in the news.
shocked that Berlin's like not like number 1 or number 2.
Yes, speaking of going conservative, let me go to my last bulletin. So, pro-choice activists stripped down at Joel Osteen's church service. All right. Churchgoers at Lakewood Church got more than a sermon that they played for a couple of Sundays ago. Three abortion activists interrupted Pastor Joel Osteen's service Sunday. They stripped down to their underwear. Joel Osteen had just finished leading a prayer, and congregants began to take their seats at Lakewood Church when one woman quickly stood up, pulled off her dress, and shouted, "It's my body, my effing choice." As a matter of fact, can we play that clip?
Bless you.
It's my body, my fucking choice. It's my body, my choice.
Chapter 4.
Overturn, bro. Hell no.
God is good.
My body, my choice. I am who I say I am. I do what I say I can do because I have a choice. I have a choice. I have a choice. I have a choice.
I know this. I'm glad to be in the house of the Lord.
Wow.
Yay!
I'm Omari the Rebel with your answer to what's the news, Habari Ghani.
And that big pink Vegas is laughing at this shit. Baby.
All right, so like you guys know, listen, we also, in addition to hosting this beautiful show, we also host events. We cultivate sexual and, open environments specifically for Black people and other people of color. And one of the ways that we're able to do this is with this icebreaker, the XXX Playground game. So what Pegasus and I are going to do to get our guests to warm up is we're going to take 2 cards each for our 2 guests. We're going to ask them some questions before we jump into the central interview real quick.
Look at my
bending ass.
Oh, I'm worried.
Are you?
All right, Pegasus, you can start first.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask Lola.
Okay.
Would you ever participate in a gangbang?
I have.
Nice.
I'd do it again.
Oh.
10-10 would do again.
How was it?
It was, it was people I knew, which always feels different than people you don't know. So you kind of know everybody.
And they know what you like, yeah.
Right.
How about you, Daniel?
I actually organize them for friends' birthdays usually.
Nice.
It's like plan out the gangbang, provide a list of all the people so they can select exactly who makes sense and bring in like 5 to 8 people and create a whole little experience around the gangbang. Yeah, well, we do them sometimes do them a little bit themed. Someone's like, I want a princess fantasy, or I want a brat fantasy, or I want this. So we build that into it. And then we serve her birthday cake at the end. Lots of birthday cake.
Yes.
Is that the cake?
Definitely do some gangbangs.
Is that the aftercare for all of your feed 'em cake? Like I'm just asking because
I mean,
that's some
that would
fucking
be
place
nice.
I want to
I'm
go.
gonna let's go with yeah.
Yeah, okay, fuck that.
If you engage, if you have sex with me or engage, there's cake at the end.
Listen,
Yeah,
for all of those who are listening, aftercare involves fucking cake and not the kind that we came with, the kind you put in your mouth.
Or biscotti cookie butter.
Hey,
there you go.
Bang.
There you go.
All right, my
Gotta be
question
ready.
is, all right, my question goes to the both of you. All right, I'll start with you, Lola. Have you ever had an anal orgasm?
By myself, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because it's pressing on your inner clitoris. So if the toy is angled properly,
I think
your
we
G
have
spot, aka the gateway to your inner clitoris. And so if it's
a term I've not heard used a lot, inner clitoris.
right.
Note to self.
Inner clitoris.
Yeah. So if you're like positioned the right way, the toy's angled thick enough, and it depends. Everybody's not shaped the same.
No.
So I always
Okay.
say,
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah,
Do you feel like this is
everybody's-
something that can be taught or like?
Well, everybody's G spot's in a different place. So some people can access it through like anal sex because the wall between your vaginal canal and your anal canal are
That's
very
your
thin.
taint, y'all.
Yeah.
This is our
And so,
taint.
but inside is super thin. So whatever's
Right.
in your butt, the person who's in your pussy will feel it. So
Right.
it's when there's nothing there, you can press against
We
it.
just had a conversation about that in the chat, asking the men how they felt about DP, double penetration, and whether the one in the vagina or whomever, can y'all feel each other's dicks?
Yeah,
we
you
were,
can.
that was the question.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
In orgasms, yeah. I had like 7 last night with my boyfriend. In orgasms are amazing. I think there's like very underrated, especially for men. Obviously, there's prostate stimulation, other things you can do to like really
Slow
stimulate
down
it.
so people can understand what you're saying, baby.
Obviously, there's like prostate stimulation. So there's like very easy ways for you to like stimulate that. But yeah, through sexual activity, you can have anal orgasms as a man. I find them to be, well, it's multi-orgasmic. That's how men become multi-orgasmic. They play with that a little bit more. But I had like 7 in the course of over like an hour and a half yesterday. And then you kind of get to this like final one and you get to like,
The final one.
yeah, well, it's like you get to the moment
Yes,
where you're like
ceiling.
The
really.
final countdown.
So now, can I ask a question?
I call it the counting orgasm. It's like, it's pretty nice. It's like feels like light shooting out of your skull. Like it's just like just so
I know
nice.
that space. But question. For men with anal orgasms, do you ejaculate?
Yeah, so you start basically you start milking. So it's like the process of like stimulating the prostate leads to milking. So semen just starts flowing out of your penis like just naturally.
So that's just, yeah. So it's actually that's a physical mechanism that happens versus like
You can play with it and like come as well, and that's like a very intense orgasm as well. But it will just naturally come out, and then after a certain
Milking.
period of time, you'll start squirting. So like most, you get to a certain
men
point-
squirt.
Yeah, men squirt. You have like anal mucus, but
I
like,
love this show,
squirt to
guys.
that. But also you can't control yourself, so you just start like kind of pissing yourself while you're fucking and like just squirting and just like
It's the
being all in
same.
bed.
Men will
Prostate
squirt.
and G
Yeah.
spots are the same thing.
Try-
We're
Chat.
very much the same
It's-
type of beings.
Yeah, we all start out the same, and then our peak parts move.
That is
That's
something
on her
we need to.
Instagram.
That
Right.
is something we need to delve into.
Right.
Like maybe not right now,
not
but
right now.
that is
But that's where, because the fluid that's coming out when you're stimulating the prostate is what mixes with semen to become ejaculate.
Yep.
So why you have to, and milking it for fun means you'll be great. You'll be in good health because
right.
you end up having to do that if you don't ever milk it. That's how you end
Mm.
up with prostate issues. And then
Releasing.
That's what
you
it's
have to do it because your doctor's telling
Yeah,
you to do
you
it.
need
know
the
what?
release. It's
Yeah.
like, it's
We
good.
that can go
It's part of
something.
health.
Listen, but
Yeah.
I am heavily into studying tantric and just like seminal retention. So a lot of those things come into that kind of study. It talks about health and what the importance of seminal fluid is for men. I don't want to give
Pegasus,
away,
what's
but
your-
I'm just saying.
What's your second question?
My second question. Damn.
You got a lot to get to.
Tell a dirty little secret about yourself.
Oh, God.
Whomever. Y'all don't want mine.
I don't think I have any dirty secrets.
Or something that's probably not as known.
Not as
Or what do you feel like sharing today?
I don't
That's
know.
dirty.
I got to think. I don't know. What's the theme?
Can I?
There's so many things.
It's not so much a secret, but I can share this. So I have like a professional dom that I work with. It's like I love subspace. I love like entering into subspace and just having someone be fully in control of something. So I do work with this Dom on a regular basis, but over the years, like as we've kind of developed this relationship, it's become to the point where like it's not even like when we're meeting, it's just like all the time. So it's kind of becoming like the structure within my life, which is kind of fun. And that's kind of a dirty little secret because it does take a little bit away from me, and I'm like loving it.
Nice. And this is not your partner. This is not your significant other.
No. But I have three partners.
So you're poly.
Yeah.
Yay.
Open love.
See? That was someplace we ain't get to yet, but go on.
Okay. I guess a thing people don't know, I got laid once speaking Yiddish because I was speaking Yiddish
Wow.
in a tent in West Virginia in the mountains. So
You got laid.
I met a lovely Jewish man, and I
Nice.
thought he was really cute. And I said something, and he's like, "You know Yiddish?" I'm like, "First of all, I'm from New
Nice.
York.
That's why
You know a lot of Yiddish." And
That's why she said laid. It's like I got laid.
Right.
You didn't get fucked. You would have get fucked speaking pot
fuck
spot.
is different. Fuck
No,
is,
say
I got
that.
laid.
It's a lot of.
There's different
Baby.
ways to have sex, but I did it saying words in Yiddish very sexily, just going through my vocabulary.
How was the sex though?
It was lovely.
Great.
It was like
She said it
really
was lovely.
It was like sweet. You know, we were like just hanging out and making out, and we.
How you
had
say I'm
had
coming in
fuck-
Yiddish?
You had a fuck conversation, is what you did.
Yeah.
That's what it.
Yeah.
You know what? When she says it's lovely, that's a beautiful conversation about our bodies and what you like.
Like we
and what
don't
you
even
don't.
we didn't even have penetrative, so we were like just getting each other off.
you
We
go.
were on an inflatable mattress in a tent in the woods at camp in West Virginia. We were at a camp, so we were like
That is
just-
so layered.
yeah.
That is a fucking sex dip.
But I'm like, that's when I'm like, yeah, you can. There's a lot of things that turn people on, and so I'm like, there you go.
Absolutely.
Maybe that'll be your superpower.
So I want to get into a little bit about
You
why.
ain't read yours. Your last card.
Yeah, we got
got
a few more things to get to since we got on the last one we stretched out a little bit. I wanted to ask you first. One of the things I noticed was you talked on Twitter a lot about NFTs and pirate bunnies. So can you tell us a little bit about? Actually, tell us about the club.
Yeah.
And also, I would like you to let us know about the cryptocurrency you launched.
Yeah. So, we started the club about 7 years ago as a way to help kind of educate people around sex, but also to kind of create a community. I found like within a lot of sex positive spaces, it was either like very, very strictly straight or very, very strictly gay. And there wasn't really anything in between that kind of brought those two energies together. And at the time, there wasn't that much education happening. Like, I think you were probably like one of the pioneers in that space. There was very, very few people, but it was very limited. Now we're looking at the space and there's like so many more people, so many more educators, so much more stuff. But at the time, there really wasn't. So initially kind of just created it for myself as like a place where I could feel more comfortable and be able to like kind of explore and enjoy things and, just feel safe, because I didn't feel necessarily safe in either of the other spaces. And that grew. So it started from like, a handful of my friends to now we have 10,000 members globally. We're developing
Nice.
events, in multiple cities and working on bigger projects. But that kind of led us into crypto. One thing that we've been very, very adamant about is how unfairly sex workers or sex educators or people within the space are treated.
Preach.
Not only by the credit card processing companies like MasterCard, but by Instagram, by social, by like pretty much anyone. Like the amount of stigma there is around our industry is awful. And I came from a fashion background. I came from media marketing.
Yes,
Where
I
a
see
lot of
Louis
that shit
Vuitton.
goes
Like,
on.
Yeah.
you had a background with Louis Vuitton?
Yeah, I actually taught Marc Jacobs how to tweet way back when.
Wow.
But so kind of coming into a new industry and seeing how difficult it was, crypto was always in my mind of like this, there has to be an easier way. There has to be an easier way for processing. This is not just a problem that I'm facing. This is a problem that multiple people are facing. A lot of people within the sex education, sex entertainment space are facing, and there's no solution for it. So we started working with a number of members who are in the crypto space to start working on this currency. So we launched Lover, which is our currency currently for NSFW. People can use it to buy passes and buy things at the spaces and other stuff like that. And then we introduced NFTs for membership.
Pirate bunnies.
Yeah, the Pirate Bunnies. Pirate Bunnies are, releasing in November, but we created like 770 of these like really naughty bunnies. Like they're just like, they have like kink gear on and they have like just, their boobs out or like, there's
And
just
these
like.
are, what are those?
They're
Like,
cute. I mean, they're really cute. I'll send it to you if you want to add it to the episode. But
Yes.
yeah, they're just like basically images, but the image represents your membership.
got you.
So if you own one of these bunnies, then you get unlimited access for 2 to anything we host globally. So anywhere we're doing anything, you get access to it. But you also get IP. So it's like the ownership of the bunny itself. Some of the things that we're working on the back end is we're talking with writers from DC on creating a comic book. We're talking with our friends at HBO Max about a potential series, talking to sex toy brands about making the bunnies be the face of products so that they're on sex toys.
Right.
Doing it in the cannabis space as well, where they're part of cannabis products. And
Y'all
part of
just
the brand.
everywhere.
Yeah, I like to
that's
get
the
high.
way. That's how
I'm gonna
it
get
should
high as
be.
soon as we finish.
Why
Yeah,
not?
definitely. Yeah, I'll be here
Why
for
not?
that. I'm high right now, actually. I came here
Yay.
high. I was like a little bit late.
So, do you get high?
Yeah.
Of course. Do you get high when you're having sex?
Yes.
All right. So tell us about you have an event coming up and you're on your way out of town.
Yeah, I'm on my way to. I have a lot of things happening, but the thing I'm going to in LA, it's a trade show, so it's and me. Basically, you need to head to one next year because that's where all the sex toy companies are.
Nice.
And you can go. And so, like, I work in a brick and mortar shop, Shag. I also work for Spectrum Journal as the creative director of their online magazine. So I'm going with Spectrum, but my boss there is great, and she's like, "You go as yourself. Come with." Do meetings, but I'm going there to talk to brands about doing content for the magazine, but I'll also be there wearing my hat for Shag and saying hello to brands we work with, and I'll be going there for myself because I have things I'm looking for.
A fucking
like-
sex dip.
Yeah.
It's layers.
It's layers. I have everybody goes, "What do you do?" And I'm like, I have a bunch of jobs that fit under an umbrella of things, but yeah. So that's
things.
But I'm excited because it's you get to see everything that's new, what's coming out, what ideas are happening. You get to like talk to people that are making things that can hook you up with making things and just making connections with people. It's always good. And this is like the first year everybody's back. So I did the lingerie show out in Vegas. That was like dipping my toe in. I didn't get to go to Miami because they did the big X-Biz Miami. I didn't get to do that one. So this is me getting to like go and see everybody. So it'll be like homecoming too, because I know a lot of folks and we haven't seen each other since before.
Speaking of haven't
be
seen
cool.
each other,
Yeah.
you said that you guys mentioned previously when we sat down that you've been to the clubhouse.
I went back before, not the new one.
Yeah, this was like early before
Yeah.
we knew our shit.
For back in the day.
Back in the day when it was like
Yeah.
it was a long time ago. But yeah, she taught a course at
the
the
fancy new one. I haven't
Yeah. You're gonna make your way. over.
I'm thinking
I
maybe.
haven't been to the
What was your experience like? Did you was you there on business or did you go?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, because everybody works together.
Yeah.
So they're working with Shag for a little bit, and we were doing things, and they were doing like a pop up, and I taught a class because we all like cross paths with each other.
Right.
Try to cross pollinate.
so
Especially if you're geared in the same direction.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
what are some of the ways you said that this was back in the day? What are some of the ways that the New Society for Wellness has changed over the years? Like some of the
Well, we
growth.
kick people out now. That's nice.
the
Yay.
Guardians, right?
We say like, hey, no, I mean like at 4 o'clock, it's like, music comes on, everyone leaves, like, let's go. It's like, I mean, before it was like a house party.
Right.
Right.
Like it was me and like a house and like being like, come over and like, let's talk about sex. And like, it was very like just trying to figure it out. And we always said from the beginning, it's like, this is an experiment. Like NSFW in the beginning was like, this is a straight up experiment. I want to see if this can happen and we can do this. And in a lot of ways we did. We built a lot of community within it. We met a lot of great people. We, changed a lot of lives in terms of like how they approach sex or their sexuality or their gender or anything else like that. Helped people with a lot of traumas that they experienced in sex that they weren't able to like come out of, and really got the word out there. We had over 240 news articles, have gotten over 1 billion media impressions. Like it's a very recognized brand in terms of like sex, So like initially it was an experiment. So it was like very much like haphazard and like kind of scary sometimes of like figuring things out. And now it's like, it's a fucking unit. Like it's a team. We have 24 employees. We're like really, really moving forward on like big initiatives. We have an amazing tech team. We have an amazing psychotherapist now who's on board to handle conflicts within the membership. We have
mental health is
a whole restorative justice program that we've introduced that helps like bring more tribal traditions into this space, because a lot of the space is a one strike policy. So like anything you do wrong, boom, like completely moved, completely taken out. And after like, 1,000 events that we've hosted and having like 50,000, 100,000 people probably coming through and dealing with conflicts, dealing with breakups, dealing with really, really toxic relationships, dealing with people who are in abusive relationships, dealing with people who are, suffering from drug abuse or anything else like that. you have to modify. It's like you're kind of dealing with all these things. Plus, we have so many people with mental health issues. We're bringing in people who are coming from like different communities. Like it's a very diverse group, so it's not just like white people or just black or brown people. It's like together, like
And
it's
then
very
they come
much
with
like
their
boom.
own stuff, and so you definitely.
And
need
then
people.
like you get things like, okay, now we're talking about George Floyd. Now we're talking about abortion rights. Now we're talking
Right.
about sex worker rights. Now we're talking about all these things that are like very new subjects for the people who are coming, because it's just like, I want to go fuck.
Right.
And then we're like, boom. Like,
Yes.
It's not just
well, actually,
dick
no.
pussy.
This is
Right.
a fucking movement, and we're trying to get this stuff done because, I don't know. When I started this, I could predict it from Donald Trump and where America was going to go and the type of thing that we're taking away from us. Even early on, I was like, pay attention to abortion rights, pay attention to gay rights, pay attention to stuff. Because I was talking poly rights. I was talking about things that we haven't discussed, like
Right.
Yeah.
should I be allowed to marry both my partners? If I die, who gets my child? If I have two partners,
That
like
conversation.
these things that are real conversations, that was my focus. And we're like sex workers, like how do we respect sex workers more? How do we push for decriminalization in New York? How do we push for these things to be, they're not sex workers, they're sex educators. They're people who are healers, they're sex healers, and changing that language. So we had all these things that we're pushing forward, and now it's like we've stepped so far backwards. So now it's kind of like hey, yeah, we care about poly rights, we care about kink rights, we care about sex worker rights, but now we also have to just care about basic fucking rights.
Yes, of course.
Like we thought we were being progressive, but we're like, oh, actually, no, we're way progressive in terms of what we actually have to handle in the United States. But yeah, I think it's come for the sex, stay for the activism.
Nice.
Lola, you do a
like the way
Q&A.
that- I like the way you put that, because so many people coming in, like you said, really do just believe it is come and get your fuck on. But there's things that go along with that, because what we haven't discussed is the other uses for sex. And I like to think of it as, like we discussed before, conversation. So there's communication in physicality. Also, energy exchange. So if you don't address the root cause of why you're here, what your intentions are for those people you're interacting with, if you don't know those or address them, you can have a real fuck show, and not in a good way.
Right.
Yeah, and you get into so many different issues, especially when you're like, it's a mixed race environment. So you have these things where, okay, we have to talk about fetishization.
Yes.
We have to talk about the language we
Yes.
use. We have to talk about like why, and you start getting into the dynamics of that. And I don't think that's something that most sex parties can do, because they're hosting, once a month or once every couple of months,
Right.
or doing, virtual. You're not connecting the same way. We have people who've been coming for 7 years, and we've been like frequent and like active in the community, active online. And so it's like a lot more eyeballs on our things. So we're just kind of like, okay, how do we keep moving this thing in the right direction while also addressing all these like social, political, like issues that people are going
Social,
through?
political,
we
internal.
yeah, and then freaking COVID,
Yeah.
then isolation, then people being alone.
Because the
Then, like,
doctors, they actually had an episode when they talked about how people are navigating the sexual space, and about how you closed and reopened during that time.
We had like
period.
3 shutdowns during that time. It was like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I think like the first shutdown, like just that period of time, because for me, I experienced it first, right? You're doing these types of parties every single week. There's a specific energy, right? Group sex creates a very, very specific energy that you cannot find anywhere else.
Exactly.
It doesn't exist in normal sexual activity. Needs to be so many more studies on it because it's so unique.
Please.
So I went from like doing that 4 days a week to like nothing. Straight isolation, got stuck outside of New York. So I wasn't even in the city that my friends and family. And then like when you start seeing,
I'm
the
gonna
things
come
that were
back to that.
causing by COVID. So, friends, passing from overdoses or members, or like suicide, or like other things that were really happening, very damaging, scary things happening because of COVID. And you run a community, it's like, it's a lot. So I remember coming back and like when we finally were actually open again, and it was just like a feeling of like slight relief, but
Did you guys ever discuss the effects of being away from the community, and if so, how did it affect everybody overall? I only ask because a lot of times than not, when you do something and it's repetitious, sometimes you may think it is just for fun, but then when it's no longer there, you realize how much of a necessity it was. And I'll say that because I know y'all can fucking see this big ass zit on my face. And I'm serious, because I don't have health issues, but I don't have health issues. I don't get blemishes like this either. If y'all seen me, you know this already. But I ain't fucking 4 weeks. So is there a correlation? Is that something that
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's something we say, you know, growing up, that, you know, you got pimples on your face because you ain't fuck. I'm fucking Lowry seasons years old, and I don't get pimples and shit. But this has happened because I ain't had no dick in 4 weeks, I think. What?
It's stress that could, because if you're stressed, you're gonna break out. If you like all of those things, your hormones, all of those things shifting and changing, and the things that sex does address on the ends.
And you know what? I've been masturbating. I'm just bringing y'all in. I've been masturbating, but it's been by myself.
Right. It's not always the same.
No, it's not the fucking same, because it's just my energy and my imagination and what I bring here. There is no communication with anyone else beside me. So maybe that is something that we miss, that we don't even discuss that.
Right, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think there's a growing amount of like non-sexual people. There's a growing amount of people who are 40-year-old virgins. There's a growing amount of people who are not getting married, not having kids, not forming actual relationships. We're having a massive issue right now because of underpopulation and people just not connecting. Right? That's a massive trend, right? You have the macro trend.
Now, there's a lot of theories on what it is that makes us the level of social disconnect to what's contemporary. A lot of the conversation gets geared towards technology. I feel like this is a double-edged sword. I mean, if you would say, because you have launched Lover, and part of when I watched the doctor's episode, you were able to connect with some of your members virtually during the pandemic. And I actually went to a virtual party myself. If I could ask you, with that, us coming off of that backdrop, would you say that technology would be pushing us closer or further away from each other?
I think the reason people feel like technology is ruining things is because you have to rely on your personality with technology. It's not just because you're hot. Like, if it's a picture or whatever, so you have to be able to have a conversation. You have to know how to say hello to somebody. You got to know how to verbally flirt or do things. Like for me, if I'm on a dating app, like I'm on Tinder right now, if they don't put anything, I don't care how cute you are, bye, because I know nothing about you. You've not given.
What's your profile? Can I swipe on it?
It's so silly. No, but you know, like if I like OkCupid because I like reading about. I want to talk to you based off of, like, if you mention a book I've also read, be like, oh, I read that book too. I like having that to build off of, and I think a lot of people have coasted for a really long time on just being able to like be in a place and smile. I've never had that. Like I always tell people, I am internet hot, and everybody's like, oh, and I'm like, no, for real. More people talk to me. I think I look mean. I think I have a resting face that looks like, don't come talk to me. I know it because sometimes I catch myself on the train and I'm like, oh, smile, girl. Like, you don't look right. But I've had people who saw me out and then find me online and say like, oh, I saw you out. And I'm like, why didn't you come say hi?
Because you know, I go through the same thing.
Right. So I tend to get all my dates are from online interaction. I can't point to anything in the last decade that came from an in-person interaction.
So, but let me just say, hold on 1 second.
Right.
So I understand that point of view, but it is totally opposite for me because I ask questions that I don't think the tone in my voice, I'm an energy person. Yeah. So even though online certain energies can be, you know, transmitted, I like the way a person makes me feel when they look at me, which breathe like I, and I guess it's not a right or wrong thing. It's just for whom.
But that's the next. So that's the lovely thing is that they can get past the like they didn't see us with our resting bitch face, and then they can come meet you at the bar. It's already arranged. They feel comfortable because they spoke to you, and now you get to have the energy exchange where I feel like, and I'm not saying for everybody, and I'm sure there'll be people like no, you know, but I think that for a lot of people, having that safety barrier of like I can talk to you, we can set up a date. I can know a little bit about you before I see you. All of those things I think help. And I think, I mean, we saw during the pandemic that the only thing we
had was the internet.
Right.
That's the only way you had to connect.
We're all Zooming.
Safely.
We're all Zooming.
Yeah.
I'm tired of Zoom.
I think it also helps create a space where you can have the in-person, where people find out about the event.
You can find out about them.
Right. Like
a lot. That way, just because you can also find out, motherfucker, I need to be around somebody because this shit ain't working. Right. So I kind of sort of just to go back on what you were saying, it's not a good or a bad thing.
Right.
It is an option for those who can utilize it. So while it might not work for me, the fact that it does work for you is a fucking plus.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's a way you can connect the way you like to do it.
Right.
And I think that's important.
Yeah, I don't know how we did shit in the 90s.
Shit.
Like, I just...
Hello?
I mean, we used to meet friends and people showed up and,
Right.
and you couldn't...
You know what we had in the 90s?
there.
We had the phone, and we had this shit back in the day called
payphone.
chat line, when you had to dial
The
that
chat
shit.
line.
The
And then you had to wait and
chat
shit.
line.
The fucking
The
chat,
chat
line.
line. Those were amazing.
Remember AOL? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
ASL, age, sex,
Yay.
location.
Yay.
Listen, I talked to so many grown men.
Daniel,
when
did
I
you have
was
MySpace?
hello.
I did
Hello.
have MySpace.
But
I'm
let
pretty
me
old.
tell you something, Lola. So I was watching an interview with you. You touched on children and sexuality, and you just said something.
Mm-hmm.
You said back then you was talking to so many grown men.
Mm-hmm. I still talk to men that are way older than me.
Right, me too.
Now I'm grown, so it's fine. But it wasn't
But-
fine back then.
So, and that was exactly where I wanted to go. Let me just tell a personal story of mine. I lost my virginity at 11. And I was the predator. I was the fucking predator 100% because I wanted to fuck that 16-year-old boy.
Right.
And guess what? At the time, it seemed like a mismatch. But guess what? He was a fucking virgin too. And I went after him. So was it wrong? Like,
I will say at 16, he's still a child. Like,
Yeah.
under 18, you're still kids. I know there's an age gap, but I feel like
Right.
everybody's dealing with not having a fully formed frontal lobe.
hello.
But when you have a 25, 26-year-old man and a 17-year-old girl, 18-year-old girl, we're talking about somebody who can rent a car and has a fully formed frontal lobe.
Right.
And someone
That
who
shit
does
might
not.
still just be
But it's just because we know that all of those things, your frontal lobe helps with your decision
Absolutely.
making. We also know about like when I met the man I ended up married for 17 years, married for 10, not anymore. We just just got divorced.
Hey.
It's finalized.
Yeah, I seen that.
Celebrate.
Drop a bomb for divorce, goddammit.
Good times. We still talk. But
Nice.
I met him when I was 19. And we moved in when I was 20 and a half. And I moved out when I was 38. So I didn't know who I was. I wasn't an adult.
By
like
yourself,
he
right.
he was only a couple years older. And it wasn't a predator situation, but it was like, you don't know anything about
No.
yourself. You might think you know everything about yourself, but you're not who you are, who you're going to be,
Yeah.
what you want to do in life. Like, I was waiting tables when we met, then I started doing admin work. I am leaps and bounds away from what I was doing. And I became a person he didn't want to,
Right.
He liked the vulnerable girl who didn't know herself. And I'm like, yeah, that was the 19-year-old. Hi, I'm
Yeah.
40.
And that's interesting that we grow that way. And this is why I was asking the question to begin with, because I honestly do not believe that learning is linear.
Right.
That being said, the 11-year-old in me knew that I wanted to have the physicality of a man in between my legs. And he may not have known, even though our frontal lobes were not developed, my shit was way more developed
yeah.
than his. And so he's not going to be 18 and I'm going to be 6. We're still going to move at the same, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at some point in time, he could go beyond where I am, even though that where we were, I was ahead of him. So I guess I'm just asking, should we not delve a little bit more into case by, and it would be extremely
I guess
difficult.
case by case, but I think the biggest thing and why it's a problem is because being aware of what you're attracted to. Predator to predator. I was a young teen girl who routinely went after men who were older than me. The difference is those men knowing that they cannot take care of me in the way that I need to be taken care of mentally. Because once you have sex, you connecting with somebody, if it's not, there's different things. Can you handle just being all the stuff? Can you handle what's going to come with that?
Right.
Can you handle like the mental stuff? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know what that looks like. Maybe whatever it is. I will tell you there were men in my life who were just like, you are wonderful. You are too young. You are not ready for
Nice.
this mentally. and there were men who took advantage, and I gladly gave. It was consensual, but I was not mentally ready, and it fucked me up. It fucked me up. Like, like I got pregnant when I was 17, 18. I had an abortion, and the dude was older, and he punched me in the stomach. Said, look, there we go. Didn't go with me to get it done, and then called me a week later to try to make a plan for the movies and said, oh, you still thinking about that? And bonus, he found me on a dating app recently and reached out to me and said, I don't know if you remember me. And I'm like, how could I forget you? But also,
Wow.
That's fucking crazy, though.
and when I was like, do you know? And he was like, oh, I don't remember all of that.
Of
And I'm
course
like,
not.
Of course you don't remember that you got a
'Cause
17-year-old girl pregnant and didn't go with her. And then, of course, you don't remember. And he was like, well, I'm a different person. I'm like, I don't really care.
If he was a different motherfucker, you
So
didn't.
how have you come along in your healing since then? Or what's some of the
Great
things that you were?
Oh,
able
I
to
have
break
no
in?
regrets, like none, because
Nice.
I didn't want to be. My mom was a teen mom, so I grew up in an example of what I did not want. And when it happened, I was like, immediately, it was not. I did not. I was like, nope, because I was living in a basement. My mom had kicked me out when I was 17, so I was living in a basement. I was working at Kmart. I was working at Kmart.
I haven't seen a Kmart in a minute.
For real, I was. You know what? Listen, I was the youngest jewelry manager at Kmart.
Hey,
in
say that shit.
in Valley Stream. Okay.
Double ball for Valley Stream for hiring Danny Lola as the youngest manager.
He just gave y'all plug.
They
For
didn't even
nothing.
open.
That's what I said, for nothing.
But then I was waiting tables. Like, I remember I was training to wait tables and then going to get an abort. Like, we had a day in between. I got the abortion and then went back to training. I knew, I was like, this is not going to work. I live in a basement. I don't have any money. I don't have any support. Like, I didn't have a parent. I didn't have anybody who would support me, let me do. And I did not ever want to look at a child and say the things that my mother said to me. And I knew it, and I have no regrets over it. Like,
As you should not.
It was like, I'm saving myself. The child that needed saving was the 17-year-old, and I saved myself.
But shit, you saved the baby too.
Yeah.
I don't care what nobody say.
I'm actually gonna come back to that. Let me ask Daniel something real quick. Daniel, you did speak about a dating app or the potential to launch one for the club.
Yeah, so we have the NSFW Nights app that we recently launched. We're starting to add a whole bunch of events from like other partners, like other sex party play event partners, as well as like cannabis partners.
Definitely want to talk to you about that.
Yeah, and then with that, we're adding profiles. So members will be able to have profiles on it. And then at the end of the year, it gets gated. So if you have a membership, then you're able to access it. And if you don't, then you just get a membership. And it'll be a lifetime dating app. You'll have premium access with the membership, so you pay once and then it's forever. And then within the app itself, the idea is to basically show people have access to see certain events based off of the type of membership they have. So like certain events are kind of blocked off because you have a certain membership, and then other ones is like general, you can see all the things that are happening.
Right, the different tiers.
Yeah, so it's like part, dating app where you have like the profiles and stuff, and you're able to like see everyone who's part of the community. And then also the event side where it's like, here are all the events that we are producing starting in the new year, or actually starting at the end of this month. We're releasing out basically funding for people who are doing events in sex positive spaces. So we're giving out $25,000 in investments, anywhere from $500 to $2,500 for people who want to create events and have the access to the membership, make sure it's promoted, make sure it's up there.
Yeah, I'm already thinking.
But also, have you heard of the Effing Foundation?
No.
I want to.
I'm on the advisory
The
council.
Effing Foundation. I like the way that sounds.
Foundation.
It's EFFING. We give grants, but your fund can actually apply for a grant, so you could give funds.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're doing. It's actually now. They're doing the learning stage. So if you just look them up as EFFING, they're on Twitter. You go look inside.
Cool.
We're going to be doing a new. We just have a new class of grantees that we granted out. So I think in September, October, we start the application process again.
Nice.
So, but it's basically, it's because we don't have a way for anybody. If you do anything attached to sex, it's really hard to get funding.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether it's art, anything, healing, but if it's focused on pleasure in any way, they're like, they don't want it. So yeah, that's amazing that you're doing that. But this, you could get funding. It's
Very
you
cool.
get funding
yeah,
for your
we
fund.
definitely-
Yeah.
Y'all can also apply.
I'm,
Yes,
I'm already
definitely.
on it,
Yeah.
Lala.
Yeah, because we
Girl.
give for a podcast, and we try to focus on marginalized folks
Nice.
to get the monies. Like we have like
Power
points
to the
we
people.
hit. Yeah, it's amazing. So
That is fucking
Yeah, I
amazing.
said it's red, black, and green for a reason.
yeah,
Listen, y'all, I was just on the way here today. I'm not gonna give it away, but I was looking at a spot daydreaming, and the high took over me and just gave me some creativity. And the craziest shit in the world is that both of y'all came in here talking this. Get ready to see some shit from NK. I'm telling you right now.
I want to ask this before I go to my closing segment. You know, one thing that came up because you talked about your dating app that made me think about a group chat, because we have a group for our events so that people, our members and such, they can actually get the time to get to know people who come to our events
And network.
in a closed environment. Now, here's what I wanted to ask. This is actually something that came up. What do you feel about the ticket prices as far as offering different rates for people of different gender identities? Because here's something that comes up a lot. Single males and single guys have a different price, right? Now, it didn't just occur to me now, but okay, so there are people who don't identify as single male and single guy. How do they support our events and such? And what is your feeling? What is your feel about the rates for different genders? Do you think there's a place for that? Do you think that's a little outdated?
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of places, a lot of sex clubs usually have that. Like the older school ones, there was always different pricing. Also pricing, like if you're 25 and under, there's a lot of like spaces that'll give like cheaper pricing for that. Mm-hmm. It's just a whole different thing. We've never done gendered pricing before. We've always tried to like, whenever we've like kind of explored it, it's always been like kind of off-putting for me personally, because like I'm a bisexual male. So like I wouldn't want to be not allowed to go to a place,
Right.
even though like, you know, they want more, you know, female energy or male energy. I think that's really up to the individuals who are hosting the event to decide that, like if they want to do that. I don't judge people for doing that. I don't judge people for not doing that. I see a lot of places do it, a lot of places that don't. For us, we started introducing femme, and like we have like just femme pricing. So it's like if you're more feminine or like female or, you know, within that category, you can get sometimes lower prices, but that's only for like couples events and stuff like that. Okay. So it's really selective as to when, but we try to keep the pricing the same. The only issue is like, yeah, you are going to have like differences in terms of like how many people come. So as an organizer, you're like working through that. Like we have a lot of like core members who will always come through and be there. And
I think that is in different club spaces, those things apply. You are a little bit more progressive than our space. And just like
we need to work on that.
Just like you said, you know, there is sometimes a diminished price for femme.
Yeah.
The reason that the price is more for single males is because that is a masculine, volatile energy sometimes. So you try to price it so it keeps a balance with the influx of people. That for me, that is how, you know, I see it. But
or you get a sausage party.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And then it's real bad.
And then they don't come back.
Exactly.
And so you're trying to
exactly.
Right.
So for me, in my mind, when I'm doing pricing and I say, well, you know, single males or more, that's where I'm looking. Not to mention you want to have everybody, but in a cake, there's not equal parts to everything.
Right.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
You got a little bit of salt, but this much sugar.
Right.
It just goes.
it requires curation. Like if you're hosting these events and if you're
for
hosting them regularly, like you have to curate to a degree.
Right.
And it's not necessarily like against men or against women or anything else like that. It's just there is like
Containing
a level
the
of curation
demographic.
that comes into it, especially with masculine and female energies. I think that's key because yes, we all know like a hyper masculine energy, too many men within a space, especially play positive spaces, no matter what, is going to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
It's going to feel like this is not, you know, this is not the environment I want to be in, or I don't feel safe in this environment. And that's an unfortunate aspect of masculinity and males. Like over too much of that testosterone energy,
And
it's
they're
going
not
to feel
play
that
together.
way.
No.
Yeah, and they're most likely not going to play together. And it's
the
like,
same way.
yeah, exactly. It's going to be, and that's why we kind of go with like that whole femme idea. So it's
Right.
like, okay, if you have more feminine energy, if you're able to like be in the space and you're a man, like great. Like you're not going to be kind of displaying, and you make those judgments yourself, but you know, women understand that.
Yes.
You know, and they're like, okay, I'm going to come because, you know, I feel like that's an option. So yeah, gender pricing exists. I think it's more about leveling off those energies, because you don't. If you have too much of one, then it's not going to be fun for
Right.
anyone. And then you're just like, what are we doing here? You know?
Could you do like a, and maybe this isn't something it's a more in-house, but could you do like limited tickets for folks who
could.
identify? So you could give everybody the same price, but you're like, we're going to do 100 femme, women, non-binary, whatever, mixed tickets, and then we're going to do 50.
Yeah.
You that is definitely an idea.
Yeah, and that way, if people feel, because I get it, you want to go out, you're a single dude, you just like want to, and you're not trying to be, and you just like want to be there.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, but I gotta pay $100.
Because there are
Right.
some of those. There
Yeah.
are plenty of them.
Speaking of tickets, I know everybody is familiar with the ticketing platform Eventbrite. And one of the problems that I have with Eventbrite is sometimes you may post something on there, and like you said previously, when you're trying to market anything in a sexual space, there's so much discrimination and things like that. So what I want you guys to consider doing is actually considering forbidden tickets. This is a ticketing platform that we're going to be moving to. It pays a little bit more, and there isn't the same level of discrimination and scrutiny that comes with Eventbrite, where they put your event to hit in because it says, oh, there's something that is promoting porn. So guys, check out Forbidden Tickets. Listen, this was such a great conversation. It was
Informative.
so excited to meet both of you. Share a word with each of you in a second before we get out of here, but getting to my closing segment, all right. At this point of the show, it's time for me to get real with everyone for a minute. Mainly, what we need to discuss is the elephant in the womb. Nah, what I mean is the conservative Republican majority on the Supreme Court, which overturned a historic legislative piece of reproductive justice, Roe versus Wade. Here, we're going to get into that and what that has to do with everybody and how this affects us all. Mainly how the narrative around this conversation has shaped. As a matter of fact, can we play that clip?
Republican Congresswoman Mary Miller sparked outrage over her comments at a Trump rally in Illinois over the weekend.
President Trump, on behalf of all the MAGA patriots in America, I want to thank you for the historic victory for life in the Supreme Court yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, right life don't even fit in that sentence that you were using.
All right. So, a historic victory for white life. Wow. A lot to unpack. All right. A narrative like
Not
this.
really.
Yes. All right.
She said what she said.
Well, we know that there's less white children being born. Yeah, pure white children being born, and so this has been
The new panic.
an amalgamation of everything, of pushing for making people have to have kids, whether they want to or not. I mean, that ain't gonna stop people from having mixed babies. I don't know what
it's
they think
not.
they're gonna do about
It's
the big
not.
booty white girl. That's not gonna stop. We gonna like y'all.
It's
A conversation that I have with a lot of people about the obstruction of reproductive justice is how it not only affects women, but it affects the most marginalized other women, whom happen to be women of color as well as sex workers. A good illustration is actually this painting, which was drawn by a black woman and feminist artist on Twitter. She goes by @Letitia Kai. Can we pull up that painting real quick? All right, now I thought this was actually brilliant. And if I can, for a second, go to read the tweet. What it says here in Letitia's, can we scroll down just a little bit if I can get to the caption? A matter of fact, the painting I did to the picture a painting I did to picture how pro-fetus people, women, are just animals, laying hens who can't choose and just exist to carry pregnancies. I can't call them pro-life because for them, the life of the woman and the life of born babies don't count, only fetuses, abortion rights. Now, when we scroll through her Twitter, we didn't actually see any link to purchase her work, but we encourage you to actually go to Letitia Kai's page and support some of her work. So one of the things that I talk about as far as what this attack on the right for women to choose does is this attacks us all. Because a lot of the places where they are deemed abortion clinics, they also provide secondary health secondary health services, things like STI prevention and things like that. Those places are under attack. And also with this legislation, what it does is it turns people who are doctors, people who went to school to get an education, who are performing a procedure that a woman has consented to, into potentially criminals who are facing charges for murder, and people whom even assist in getting you to a clinic where you can safely make a choice on whether or not you want to do family planning can be an accessory to murder. What we need to do is we need to make sure that not only that you make your voice heard in the ballot box, you need to make sure that you're taking your dollars and supporting the many organizations like Swap Brooklyn, as well as, wait, I need to get a few more. Do you have a few more?
Planned Parenthood.
The New York Abortion Action Fund, who I'm actually doing hosting a fundraiser for on the 17th. So, yeah.
Daniel, you have any?
Oh, Planned Parenthood always, but yeah, no local ones.
Okay. Now, there actually was just a little bit of good news, as a matter of fact. President Biden had a response to the historic overturn of Roe versus Wade. So when we did a little research on what his plan was, if we can play that clip, here's what President Biden has said.
I don't think the court, or for that matter, the Republicans who for decades have pushed the extreme agenda, have a clue about the power of American women. But they're about to find out, in my view. It's my hope and strong belief that women will in fact turn out in record numbers to reclaim the rights that have taken from them by the court. And let me be clear, while I wish it had not come to this, this is the fastest route available. I'm just stating a basic fundamental notion. The fastest way to restore Roe is to pass a national law codifying Roe, which I will sign immediately upon its passage at my desk. Second order is protecting access to reproductive health care services.
He was
Yes.
age ready.
He was.
Yes.
This man was.
Now, he was like the oldest president in
Aged
history.
so fucking fat. He was so lit during Obama.
Hasn't he been around since he's been around since Martin Luther King? Like he's been.
He has, but he was
for a
still.
long time.
He was
Yes.
still
For a while.
virile and vibrant. Now he's
No, let Kamala take over. Like, give the woman the wheel, please. Like we need please anything but that. But
So one thing that I like to say a lot here is that we're not going to be free until all of us is free.
Right.
Yeah.
And listen, there's a whole lot of evidence that shows a correlation between women having more access to choose actually produces a lower population, which also has an effect on things like crime. Because what happens is the overpopulation of the cities doesn't have to be as much of a thing when we don't have to have children out of necessity because people are empowered to make that choice themselves. Now, for the many people who want to keep us backwards and they want to use your dogmatic interpretation of what the law should be for the rest of us as a reason to celebrate this attack on a woman's right to choose, we actually have a special song dedicated to highlighting the exceptional brilliance of people like you and that Congresswoman. Can we please play that jingle for her and the rest of her followers, please? All right, so guys, what do you guys got coming up?
It's fun.
Okay. Oh, what do I have coming up? Okay, July 17th, I'm going to be at Littlefield with the Sex Ed with DB. They're doing a big event to raise money for the New York Abortion Action Fund. So I'm emceeing the event. There's going to be drag queens, burlesque performers,
Nice.
comedians. There's going to be dancing and food from different vendors around the city. But it's really just to get people to come out and have a good time while also raising money for a good cause.
I should do like a mini ball and let me call it.
Thing. And there's gonna be a lot raffle prizes. I'm doing a little taste of my Q&A sex at a go-go.
Yeah,
So I'm
I gotta
gonna
be here for that.
answering questions from the audience. And there will be chances to win prizes. And then in February, which seems so far away, but it gives you time to save money, I am doing a getaway.
Why am I sitting on
couples,
the edge?
Well, a relationship getaway. We're calling it with Adventures in Black. And it's the vacation, and it's open to
Is it for Black History Month or Valentine's Day?
It's well, we're actually going to be there the 12th.
Is it Black Valentine's Day?
So Black Valentine's Day.
Yes.
There
you go.
It's a getaway where it's a retreat. So they already do these vacations that are centered around getting Black people to travel and feel safe traveling. This is their first retreat, and I will be going. I'm going to be doing a sensual. What do you call it when you? Oh, why am I forgetting words? I'm doing my show. Yeah. Sensual seduction and, what is it? When you blindfold and they can't see, hear.
Sensory deprivation.
Thank you. Wow. It was gone. It was like, nope.
It happens to me all the time here.
I know. And then I'm also doing Sex at a Go-Go there, but there are going to be 2 other educator folks who are going to be doing couples workshops. So you're going to talk about healing and connecting and bonding, but in Bali.
India. That's going to be fucking hot.
Yeah, literally.
Hot and colorful.
No, but it's going to be wonderful. So, but folks, information will be up soon on my page on Instagram in my bio. So be on the lookout for it because folks can start. I know it's open now to be on the waiting list to get info. They just starting to put stuff out. But I got them to change the language so that I was like, do you want people who, because I'm also poly, and I'm like, you want people who have multiple partners to come through? You need to if you say couples retreat, you're not going to get that. So they actually are changed up some of the language and checked with the hotel about how many people per room and stuff because we know that gets.
I would love to be involved in something like that and just I would just love to. I'm gonna look into it.
Yeah,
see what would work out.
Daniel, what's the Clubhouse got coming up?
Just weekly events. We're there 3 days a week. Yeah, you guys are coming. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Look, yes, we would love to.
No, working on that. The big thing we have coming up in August is the pro-sex rally. We did this right before COVID, and now we're bringing it back. But we're bringing Norm Buster, who's a big legal expert within the space of revenge porn and other things like that. We're just gonna do a kinky, fun little picnic in the park and take over a space. In Randall's Island for about 200 people. That's our next big thing. But yeah, everything else is just on the website. We have events all the time. We're just constantly going.
Nice.
Yes, for real, man. And
I ain't feel like wearing no shoes today, y'all. So fuck it. I wait till the end of the show to address that shit. But oh well, fuck it. I'm barefoot and.
Can the both of you let everybody watching know where they can find you?
Yep, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Dirty Lola, and my website is dirtylola.co.
Yeah, slinging dildos, man.
You are like the fucking guru of compound words not invented yet. I like that shit. The new Jesse Jackson.
So then how can we find you in the Clubhouse?
Yeah, you can find us at the nsfw.club online. And you can find us on Instagram at We Are the NSFW.
We are.
Yes, thank you guys both for joining us.
Thank you.
And my name is Omar Ritter Rebel.
And I'm your girl, the Big Pink Pegasus.
Thank you guys for letting us into your platforms, into your devices. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you guys want to support our show, what you can do is purchase our merchandise via Teespring, or you can make a donation via PayPal. And it was great talking to y'all. Y'all be safe.
Be safe.
Hey girl, what's up? Oh, you want to know how it went? Let me tell you, this game, it really knows what it's doing. I mean, it just takes me there again and again. And all over again. And normally I'm a really good actress. And, you know, I could just kind of fake my way there. But I don't even have to with this. It really is the best. Triple X Playground. Come play with me.